What's poppin', my YouTube family? Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be doing something different this year. Every UFC fight night, every event, point blank period, I'm going to be breaking it down and, reacting to what happened. These are my stats so far in the year. 8 wins, 3 losses, 1 main event win, of course. Let's get right into that main event. Johnny Walker gets goofily KO'd again. And I saw a meme. It said that in the same spot, in I don't know if it was the same round or what, but same spot, same way, same spot of the cage, same way, same of area, he gets knocked out the exact same way. It's almost identical. You can't put Johnny Walker in a fight and not expect him to get goofily KO'd. It's kind of crazy. Even if he wins the fight, he probably got knocked out at some point in between it. Magomed Ankh looked pretty good, I'm not gonna lie. The first round was really weird. Again, there was some fouling and shit going on. Just goofy round. Johnny Walker looked decent. He looked a lot more confident than I would have expected him to be for somebody that was probably going to get goofily KO'd. But yeah, after he got starched, didn't complain, just shook hands like a man, which of course he's going to. It's Johnny Walker. He's a really stand-up guy, I feel like, and their beef probably really just stemmed from how weird the last fight ended. Now, I'm seeing a lot of people writing for Magomed, saying that he's the #1 contender now, without a doubt. Do y'all forget that Jamal Hill exists? And I know he's not really in the mainstream eyes lately because he's been injured for so long. Pretty much all of last year, he fought in January, on one of the first cards, the literal first pay-per-view, 283, and then was injured for the rest of the year. So I'm sure everyone just forgets how good Jamal is, but go back to that fight. Glover Teixeira was a huge favorite. If you watch creators online, almost everyone was picking Glover to dominate Jamal Hill, and Jamal Hill beat him everywhere with grappling and striking and shit. So I really want to see Jamal Hill get his shot next, but if it has to go to Magomed, so be it. I think his legs are going to get chewed apart. Then we have Jim Miller in the co-main event. Unfortunately, what was the co-main event? Y'all know what happened to Manel Kape's fight. But Jim Miller comes out, and he looked great against Gabriel Bonitz, one of the fights that I was a little bit iffy on for my picks. But yeah, no, he wraps up a sub, gets it done within the distance like I expected. I think I might have called the knockout in my video. I don't remember if I predicted a submission, but I knew that Jim Miller would get it done, and no damage really taken, so he's going to be on UFC 300. Expect to see him there. It's going to be great to watch. I wouldn't mind him against somebody like Tony Ferguson. I wouldn't mind him against somebody like Matt Brown. I wouldn't mind him against, I don't know, maybe not Bobby Green. That fight might be a little bit more boring, but you know what I mean. There's good matchups there, and honestly, you could even maybe give this full Paddy Pimblett. That wouldn't be a bad fight. I would watch it. Mario Batista versus Ricky Simone in the feature fight, a bantamweight bout. Simone being the ranked bantamweight, holding the number 12 ranking, coming in taking on Batista, who was on a 5 or 6 fight winning streak. I believe it's 6 now. So Batista looked great. I picked him to get a submission. I had a really strong inclination that he was just gonna find a slick rear naked choke, but it didn't end up happening. The first round actually looked dicey too, as they were kind of just sporadic on the feet, and Ricky Simone drops him with a left hook that wasn't really a knockdown, but he was kind of off balance, which just swung him down to the ground, and then he tried to chase his grappling. But after that point, Mario just really picked it up on the feet and was just too clean for Ricky Simone to handle. So great win by Mario Batista. I'm looking forward to seeing him climbing up the bantamweight rankings. I still think he lost to Damon Blackshear last year, but you know what? It is what it is. Good shit, Mario Batista 2024. Then we have Bruno Ferrera taking on Phil Hawes. This, honestly, it's one of the losses on the card I shouldn't have had. I knew it even in my video. I was saying Phil Hawes is too chinny, but I want to trust him because he's a lot more technical of a boxer or a kickboxer than most of the people he fights. I don't know what it is with this guy. I don't know what happened, but he's just a shell of what he was when he first came into the UFC. Everyone that knows who Jacob Malkoun is knows he's really kind of one of the dark horses outside of the rankings at middleweight. He's really good. And Phil Hawes obliterated Jacob Malkoun. So to see him obliterate someone like Malkoun, and then he has another really great win, and then now he's losing to everybody that the UFC brings him, and it's a lot of new guys too. Good shit for Bruno Ferrera, amazing knockout. I'm looking forward to him because I could tell he has the heart of a real fighter, but come on, Phil Hawes, you might get cut now. Andre Arlovski versus Waldo Cortez Acosta also took place on the card. It opened up the main card. Such a boring heavyweight fight, dude. I don't know what it is with Waldo Cortez. It looks like he's throwing all of his body in to throw some powerful shots, and they come out like pillow hands. Andre Arlovski famously doesn't have the greatest chin at his older age. Of course not. He's fought so many killers at the heaviest weight class, taking the strongest punches, and he was eating Waldo Cortez Acosta's shots like they were nothing. I really think the only thing that gave Cortez this fight is that he was throwing so much more. He just looked actively more aggressive. But genuinely, not a bad performance from Arlovski, just kind of a bad one from Waldo. The prelims ended with Matt Semelsberger taking on Preston Parsons. One of my other losses on the card. It was the last fight we just talked about, and then of course the parlay killer, Tom Nolan, which we'll get to down the line. Matthew Semelsberger, man, I wanted to side with him being able to land the powerful shots on the feet, but honestly, Preston was coming at him on the feet and was like willing to exchange. He was taking shit, and he just kind of started to steal the fight away with that grappling pressure. You could just tell, even though Semelsberger's athletic and he's a dog, and he would get reversals and whatnot, Preston Parsons is a lifelong grappler. You can see the difference clearly in how he was moving his hips, how he was chaining his motions together. There was one point where he shoots a takedown, gets stuffed, he grabs the hands while fighting in that that down position on his knees, scoots down to a hip, grabs a leg, fishes for a single. It was just beautiful. Like, you could tell that man wrestles. So, good shit, Preston Parsons. Got another good win in the octagon. And then we have Marcus McGee taking on Gaston Bolanos. Marcus McGee, I've been so high on him. He was probably the most anticipated fighter on the weekend for me. Marcus McGee, 3-0 now in the UFC. I think he has all 3 finishes. Maybe not all 3 finishes, but he has knockdowns in all of his bouts. He hits like a fucking truck. He's always switching stances and setting himself up for like power shots. And it's so pretty to watch. You can tell that he trains with Kyler Phillips and Sean O'Malley and Mario Batista. All 4 of them just have like an aura about them, and I'm looking forward to, Marcus McGee moving forward. Taylor Lapis versus Farid Basharat. This was an amazing fight. I'm so impressed with Taylor Lapis and his fucking takedown defense, dude. Some of those takedowns, I thought there's absolutely no way this man defends that, especially being a kickboxer. And the way he would keep his balance, it reminded me of like Wonder Boy. It just reminded me of like an athlete, a super athlete, despite the fact that he's a kickboxer. And, he was landing really good on the feet. There was points in the fight where I thought Farid might be in over his head. But you know what? That dude is a dog. He fights like a true undefeated fighter. He just pressed the grappling, and, that won him the fight ultimately. He gave a lot of respect to Taylor in the post-fight interview, and I really appreciated that. I love when I see 2, like, absolute killers meet at the bottom of the rankings and have wars like this and gain a lot of respect for each other. It's a great thing. It reminded me of, like, Arman and Islam's first fight. Then we have Gene Silva, versus Weston Wilson. Like, probably the biggest fucking, giveaway fight in the history of the UFC. Any fight Weston Wilson's in, if they're going to keep booking him, first round knockout for whoever he's fighting. He could be fighting my little sister, and I'm giving first round knockout prop every single time, bro. I don't know how Weston Wilson has 15 wins and they're all finishes. Shit does not make sense to me. I'm sorry, Weston. I'm not trying to just dog on you, bro, but like, you just didn't look like you belonged in there in every sense of the word. Gene Silva gave a lot of opportunity for Weston to do something if he had any fight skill or any athleticism or any killer instinct, but he just didn't. So Gene Silva kind of just dropped him all around the cage and like made him fling around like a goofy, kind of amateur fighter, and then had a goated post-fight interview. So shout out Gene Silva, you're in the UFC now. And we have Tom Nolan versus fucking Nicholas Mota. Honestly, Nicholas Mota earned a fan because in his interview right before the fight, he was talking about how he said something like that stuck out to me. It was something along the lines of, Tom Nolan thinks this is going to be a walk in the park. This is going to be a walk through hell. It was so smooth how he said it. It was just perfect delivery, and he kind of chuckled after, like, he really believed what he was saying. And when they fought, it really looked like that. Tom Nolan came out like an undefeated kickboxer that's used to killing people, and Mota just stayed in the fire and, landed a vicious straight hand when Tom Nolan got a little bit too close trying to exchange and land a straight hook of his own. Nicholas just, beamed him with a right straight and knocked him out pretty much instantly. I mean, there was some follow-up shots, but it looked like it was over. Parlay killer of the year already. And then the first fight, the last one we're going to be talking about, Joshua Van versus Felipe Boonies. So exactly how I kind of predicted this one. Similar to his last fight with Kevin Borjas, Boonies, quick, sniper-like striker, gave him problems in the first round. Josh Van pretty much always drops the first round. Sort of like the new age Peter Yan. And then he just comes in and figures you out, and he starts obliterating you on the feet with boxing pressure. And he actually got his first octagon finish, a TKO, I think it was in the third round, by just, again, utilizing that boxing pressure, landing clean, and eventually Boonies just couldn't take it, and he curled up and got TKO'd. Congratulations, Josh Van. You're now 3 for 3 in the UFC, and against really good competition, honestly. Like, the first 3 fights couldn't have gone much better for somebody that's debuting in the UFC. Solid. Especially the win over Zalgas Zmagulov, or whatever his last name is. He's one of the most underrated flyweights. Don't look at his record, look at his fights. Zalgas is one of the better flyweights, especially in the lower ends of the rankings or outside of it. And that was Josh Van's first fight on short notice, and he came in there and he won the fight. Super close fight, split decision. Some might argue didn't go to Van. Regardless, Josh Van 3-0. I'm giving him a little bit more talking time in this video because I really am high up on him. Flyweight already, just because it's my weight class that I want to compete in, it's the one that I would naturally fit in, is one that I've always had my eyes on, like, just extra throughout my whole life. So shout out Josh Van, looking good in the UFC so far. And shout out you guys for supporting the content. If you fuck with it and you want to see my early predictions for fight news and whatnot, go to my TikTok. I'm always updating it, posting almost every single day with whatever news we get. Subscribe to the channel if you fuck with the content. I love all of you so much, as you know. Just thank you for keeping this channel going. I'm going to make sure that y'all always get your content.